Hi, my name is Jason with the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources, and today we're going to go over the basics of fishing. Fishing is a great way to get outdoors and spend time with family, friends, and just to relax. Sometimes it can seem a little bit overwhelming if you've never gone fishing before, or if you're new to the sport. I know you can walk into stores like Bass Pro or Walmart and you see aisles of baits and hooks and different things of different sizes, but it doesn't have to be overwhelming. So today I want to show you just the basics. Here in front of you is your basic setup. You've got your fishing rod, your reel. On your reel you have your line. You've got a bobber or a float, a weight, and your hook. When you're building your setup, oftentimes it's best to keep it simple and keep the fish in mind that you want to target. If you're targeting smaller fish like bluegill or other types of panfish, you don't need a big giant rod and reel. But if you're going for something larger like some of your bigger catfish, then you might want something a little bit heavier. And as we go on throughout this, you'll notice that it's important to match your equipment to the fish that you're targeting. But today we're going to talk about making a setup that's a nice overall combination for everyday fish. That'll include your panfish like your bluegill and your rock bass. It'll include bass and your smaller channel cats, and it should help you bring in any one of those. So starting off, I'd like to recommend a medium action rod. Here we have a push button spinning reel. This is your typical setup. Oftentimes you'll see an open face spinning reel also, and neither one of these are pretty easy to use and will get the job done. I would recommend starting off with an 8 to 10 pound test line, and that should be pretty strong to catch just about any fish that you would want. Just because your line is 8 pound test doesn't mean that you can only catch an 8 pound fish. For example, the Kentucky State record catfish is well over 100 pounds, and it was caught on 30 pound test. Now, you've got your rod and you've got your reel. We've put line on the reel, and now we need to set up your rig. The first thing we're going to do is start at the end of the line, and we're going to tie on a hook. So here we've got a small hook tied on, but again, hooks come in different shapes and sizes, and it's important to match it to your fish. A small hook like this one is good for catching your bluegill, but if you're going for like a bass, you may want to go with something a little bit larger. Next thing on your line is you've got your weight. It'll help hold your line down, it'll increase your sensitivity, and it'll help you cast a little bit further. The type of weight that we have on here is called a split shot. If you look at it, it's small and round, similar to a BB, and it almost looks like Pac-Man. And so the best way to put it on is to put the mouth side on your line, and you can pinch it shut using your fingers or maybe a pair of pliers. The last thing you want to have on your line is a float or a bobber. Again, it's important to consider the size of the fish. If you're fishing for bluegill, you want to have a smaller float. That way it's easier to pull under and you can tell if you're getting a bite. If you're fishing for something larger like bass or catfish, you'll want to go with a larger float. Now that you've got your pole set up, we need to consider bait options. I like to fish with waxworms, redworms, night crawlers, and sometimes minnows. Live baits are great for your panfish. They also catch bass and catfish. If you were wanting to go with artificial baits, we have things like rubber worms or hard baits with different types of hooks on them. And those are nice too, and they will catch fish, but typically it's your larger, more predatory fish. So if you're just wanting an easy day out where you can catch a lot of bluegill, I would recommend using your worms or even crickets. Now that you've got your pole rigged up and you got your bait on, you need to cast your rod. So for a push button rod, there's a black button on the back. To cast this rod, you'll want to hold it in your dominant hand with the reel on top. You will push and hold that button tightly, and as long as you're holding on, your line will not run. But as soon as you let off that button, your line will go free. So to cast the rod, you will push and hold the button. So the black button will push and hold. We will bring the rod back, and as you come forward,